Hey guys, just as I wrapped up working on the Philco signal generator, a friend stopped by with a radio he just scored off of eBay, and I thought, hey, why don't we do a video? So we're going to unbox it, take a look at it, see if we get it working, and ideally we'll get it working and use the Philco signal generator to align it. So would you like to do the honors?
Yeah.
So you said this is a Bakelite radio?
Yeah, it's a Bakelite radio. It's 1950 Airline.
Let me correct you for a moment, because somebody keeps commenting on this. I make this mistake sometimes too. It's not Bakelite, it's Bakelite. B-A-K-E-L-I-T. And everybody says Bakelite, but it is Bakelite. I will probably make the mistake a dozen more times in the video, but yes.
No problem.
For the record, we do know it is pronounced Bakelite.
Bakelite. Okay.
So you've seen me do videos in the past with horrible shipping jobs. Things get damaged. That's kind of why I don't buy too much stuff that gets shipped like I used to. Fingers crossed that this made it intact. It looks like it's a pretty sizable box, so that's is something anyways.
Yeah, well, it was like 18 bucks, so we'll see. All right. So it's...
The worst case scenario, you got some spare parts.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
For 18 bucks. You're the only bidder?
It was a buy it now.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that was the only bidder.
Alright, so we got some newspaper and some bubble wrap. Okay, not double box, but it's better than just a radio in a box with nothing.
Okay.
Here, let me get that.
Yeah, it looks like it survived.
Hey, yeah.
There's some scratches here.
Alright, hopefully those will buff out. I wouldn't have wrapped a quarter on the radio like that if it was me, but... Oh well.
So the cord still looks okay.
Yeah, the grill cloth looks pretty nice too.
Yeah, it does.
Nice stripy grill cloth.
It's a little bent, but...
So it's AM only, right?
Yes, AM only.
Why don't you turn around and take a look at the back. Is there a model number on it anywhere? Oh, hey, you got the original back. Got some nice shape. Let's try to get those instructions in review.
To service receiver.
That would be what we're going to be doing. Okay, so I tell you to take the back off. You can run this thing on DC?
Yes.
Huh. Interesting. Alright, I don't see a model as a part number. That's probably the part number on the back, not the actual part
Yeah,
number.
that's probably that part number right there, which is what was listed on eBay, is probably the part number for this, whatever material this is.
Do you know what the model number is?
Roughly? I think so.
Nothing on the bottom?
Normally there's the part number right here.
Oh yeah, I can see where the label used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. How is it back held on? 1/4 inch?
Yes.
Oh no, it's got some...
Yeah, it's got the 1/4 inch down here and these little...
T-nuts, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some Philco radios that used clips that were unique to them, and they're really hard to get off, and they never made reproductions, but I've heard about these, and I think the reproductions are made if you ever need them.
Are the Philco the ones that have like a push button and a...
They're like a spring wrapped around it. So spring steel folded over with sharp prongs that stick out.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy looking.
Alright. Well, I think the first thing we probably want to do is, before plugging it in, is test the tubes.
Oh yeah, right. So what did the seller say about the condition? That it worked, didn't work?
It said, turns on, makes static noise, but does not receive stations.
Okay. So they obviously did try turning it on, and it didn't blow up.
I don't think
allegedly.
I don't want to turn it on, plug it in.
Right.
What we can do is test the tubes. See what happens.
All right, cool. So you need a 1/4-inch nut driver, it looks like, to get the back off. I think there's one over to your left in the pile of...
All right.
So this is probably the cleanest you've ever seen my workbench, since we spent a little bit of time cleaning it out, and underneath all that stuff is probably all the tools, and then some that we're going to need. So the usual assortment of screwdrivers and wire cutters and solder suckers and so on.
Alright, so just take off this last T-clip here, or the second one. There's only 2, really.
Careful you don't gouge the back.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't too careful.
Alright, so we got a loop antenna built into the back. Hopefully it's got connectors on it, or is it?
No, we got to unsolder them to work on it.
That blows. Well, we'll take some... Here, I got my handy-dandy camera. So let's take some reference photos before we do anything. Cannot emphasize how useful it is to take reference photos. Well, it looks pretty clean. We've got, looks like mostly GE tubes.
Yeah, GE tubes and one original. Oh no, this one is 2.
Oops, something the wrong way.
This one is also an Airline. This is the rectifier. 35Z5.
Okay.
It's an Airline. And the 12SQ7 back here is also an Airline.
So a speaker with a little output transformer mounted on it.
This is an original Airline, and everything else is GE.
Hopefully it's all in one piece. I like working on radios where everything's mounted in a chassis and you just pull the whole thing out, as opposed to when the speaker's mounted to the cabinet. Sometimes you gotta unsolder wires. Go into that.
I think, yeah, I can see the screws right here. The speaker is mounted to the chassis.
So what do we want to do? We want to take the back off, or do we want to take I just imagine there's... Oh, there's just a screw on either side and the whole chassis slides?
Yeah, it says...
So slide back or forward?
Remove knobs and fasteners holding back, and then we can pull the chassis out. So all we got to do is remove the knobs on the front, these 2 screws, and we should be able to just slide it all out.
Alright.
We can do that.
Get this, or there's a larger flat-bladed screwdriver to your left if you want to
Alright.
use it. Hopefully getting the knobs off won't be an adventure and frustration.
I hope not.
Here. You can put coffee can lid for this hardware. Can't tell you how many times I've lost bits and pieces.
This one's missing the washer over here.
Alright. I should be able to dig one up for you.
And clean all that nasty dirt out.
So this is like 1950?
1950. There were other models that looked really, really close to it from the 40s all the way until now. They look basically the same.
I'm surprised the power cord is as nice as it is.
Right. And then I should slide right out. Something's holding it. What is holding it? Oh, I know what I forgot to take off. What did it say to do there? Pointer. Remove pointers.
Oh, that middle disc comes out?
This part.
Oh.
Pointers and knobs.
Okay.
No, I didn't do that, huh?
Yeah, I was just thinking, how often do you see detailed instructions to take it apart, and even then we still couldn't manage it.
Somewhat detailed, right?
Well, yeah. Only as good as your reading comprehension.
Wow, something else is What in the world?
I think you got it. Maybe you lift up a little.
Not sure here. I don't know about. It's being caught on the Bakelite, not Bakelite. No, I don't want to break this.
I think you got it. Oh, is it like the... I wonder if the case could have warped over time.
I don't know.
I think you got it.
Oh, look at that
Whoa,
nastiness.
man. I wonder if there were like mud wasps living in there or something.
There's something big in the front, Bob. Hold on. I'll show you what it is. I think what you just said, whatever it was that you just said.
Oh, yeah. Nasty.
That's what was stopping us.
Nice.
1950s.
Thank goodness I didn't get too far. I think I've only encountered that once before. I think like in a TV cabinet.
That was a wing.
Well, that was a souvenir for you.
Yeah. So,
That filter cap looks pretty horrific.
so these are the parts.
Like something was chewing on it or something.
Maybe just chemical type. So we for sure want to change out all the paper wax capacitors to include this.
I mean, for laughs, we could try powering it up, but I don't think we really should bother.
No.
So without that. And I think that's a replacement.
That does look. It's a sprig and everything else.
Yeah.
Is this style paper wax?
Could very well be a paper cap inside a plastic tube, but it's
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's newer than that. Like
But we
maybe
have
late 50s.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the same color, and then one just
Right.
oddball.
And then
Black
that's looks like
Looks like a 3-section.
yeah, and then one wire for common.
Right.
So, you were able to figure out the model. I remember asking you earlier.
Yeah, I think so. I just have to get the paperwork, and it's written on there.
Okay. It's like a classic All-American 5, or
Right.
transformer.
No transformer, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's maybe clean this up a little, get the service info, and dig up some replacement parts.
Alrighty.
Look who came to investigate.
Oh, look at that.
We got a third helper if we need one.
Good Linda Paul.
Alright, let's test the tubes. Just going to do a quick test using Syncor TC162. It's one of the more modern testers, solid state. Basically, it'll tell you if a tube is dead or if it's got any shorts in it. But it's not a transconductance tester, and even the filament range, like it has 4 to 5, 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10. In other words, it's not exactly a super precision device, but neither is the radio.
I don't think I've ever seen this one, Bob. I think you always use your Cardmatic and
Yeah, like this one's all solid state. It's got a couple FETs in it, I think. And basically you just plug it in, it's ready to go. Really easy to use. So,
right, well, all the tubes are over here in that.
that was good. I was going to pick it up, that would have been ugly.
So we can do the rectifier.
That's the most boring one. Let's do something more exciting. What do we got? 12SK7, 12SQ7, 12SA7, and that's got to be the output.
That's the output, 15HA-1553A.
Let's do the SK7. I believe that's the IF amp. I think you got dug up the service info too, didn't you?
Over here.
And give the folks a look-see at the schematic. 12SK. 12 D4 D4 and it goes to socket 1 D4. Alright, so first we check it for shorts. Let it warm up a bit.
This is a solid state. Oh, the tube, you mean?
Tube's good. Check grid leakage. No grid leakage. Well, actually, I didn't quite check it for shorts right. I forgot you're supposed to rotate it to check the shorts. Been a little while since I used this. The light should not stay on. If it does, you got a short. And number 4 position for emissions. You good emissions. No leakage. Alright, good tube.
Yeah, you said warm up. I was forgetting that you said this was solid state, and I was like, why are you gonna let it warm up? I was like, oh, you mean the tube warm up.
Alright, let's do the SA7. So that tube, you got the schematic?
Yeah, I got the schematic.
So let's see, get that on camera there. So there's the model, 15HA-1553A.
I think it's the 53A is the brown one.
Okay. And here we are. So on the schematics for all American 5s, they sometimes do this where they have the filaments split out from the tubes and they just show you that. So this is just the filament series string here. So no power transformer. It just goes right off the AC plug, right through all the tube filaments, and then the return. Gets its power directly from the AC line. They rectify it right off of the AC line through this tube, and there's your B+ supply. Rest of the tubes, 12SA7, that is your RF amp, local oscillator, and mixer all in one tube. 12SK7 is your one stage of IF amplification. SQ7 is your detector and first audio amplifier. And then there's your power output tube.
50L6.
Yep. So the SA7, that's the tube that kind of does everything. That's why it's got a whole bunch of grids in it.
Multi-section, right?
Yeah. It's got like 3 or 4 grids in it.
Which one is that? 12SA7?
Yeah. 12D51. Let the tube warm up.
I think other than the rectifier and the output tube, we're not going to see anything glowing, because these are all
Oh yeah, the metal tubes.
metal tubes.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, you may be used to seeing glass tubes. Well, for a while they used tubes with a metal jacket on the outside that's grounded, so it acts as a shield. But they do actually have glass inside of them. So no shorts, good emissions, and no leakage.
All right. SA7 is the one that had the multiple grids?
Yeah. So on other testers I've got, you'd have to flip to a bunch of switches and test each section independently, but this one...
This one doesn't have the different sections?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm curious about the SQ7 because it's got 2 diodes and a triode in it.
That's this one.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Those 2 diodes. So
for this one they do have 3 tests we got to go through.
And we're able to switch?
Yeah.
Okay.
12. For the first one, so they don't tell you which is which, but 2 of the, well, I guess probably the 2 where the C setting is on G, those would be the 2 diodes. This will be the triode test first. F22s, F2 goes into socket 2. So one of the reasons there aren't as many settings on this is they have several sockets for the different tubes. Like there's 2 octal sockets, and you either use socket 1 or socket 2 depending on the tube type. That means there's less switches you have to mess with. A little bit more. So my point with all this is just kind of a quick test to see if any of these tubes are dead or not. Whoa, we have no emissions, some grid leakage. It's weird. 12 F2 socket 2 emissions. We have a problem.
Okay.
Try another test. 12G42 G4. We also have no emissions. A little bit of grid leakage.
When you get that, does that mean something's open on the inside, or?
Could be. I mean, it's more commonly you see a weak tube, not nothing. It's possibly the filament's blown. Although no, I mean the seller said that he heard a hum, so he wouldn't have heard anything because either all the tubes got to have filament continuity or none of them do.
Right.
But yeah, the cathode could have gone open internally or something. Sure. All right, I guess we got to find a new 12 SQ7. And then we got a 50L6. C51, 50C. Now finally we'll be able to see a filament glow. Ideally, yep.
You already tested the rectifier or not yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
That's the most boring one.
Oh, okay.
It's just a diode. There's no gain in it. Although this rectifier tube's a little bit interesting because that's good. Rectifier tube is a little interesting because it's got a tap in the filament.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So going back to this, that is a rectifier tube filament. And there's a tap in it, and that going to the plate. It's kind of weird. So this set is powered off the AC line. They could have just gone right there, one side of the AC plug. Why have that? Well, they use it as a fuse. Say one of these electrolytics dead shorted and there's excessive current being drawn through this tube, it would blow the filament open. So there's your fuse. That's a cheap, inexpensive, creative way to add a fuse to a set. I would say something because most radios prior to this didn't have a fuse at all. So they take out the power transformer or something else, but in this case that tube just pops and there you go. So if this does have bad electrolytics, short electrolytics, that rectifier tube could very well have an open filament. 15HA-1553A. So this one we finally get to use one of these switches. These switches on this tester, I think, disconnect pins on the socket from the test. 35Z5, 35B51.
Yeah, that was an airline.
Oh, yeah. Could be the original too.
Could be the original, yeah.
Yeah, it's glowing. Not hard to see. The plates really cover up the filament. Oh, we got really strong.
Really good. Yeah, that's really good.
And well, no point taking grid leads. It doesn't have a grid.
There's no grid.
No. All right, that's that. So it looks like we got to find a 12SQ7. All right, we have located a replacement 12SQ7. So let's test it before we pop it in the radio. Oh yeah, let's test 12F22. You want to do the honors?
The socket 1 or socket 2?
Socket 2.
Socket to me.
That loud hum you hear, I've told, can be normal for this tester, so it seems to work just fine, but it does have a loud hum when you turn it on.
Yeah, is this one bad too?
Oh, I got it in the shorts test position. Should always test for shorts before you check for emissions, otherwise you could potentially damage your tester. Hey, look at that.
Hey, look at that one. That one's real good.
Cool. 12G42, 12G4. Woohoo.
Wow.
And finally 5.2. Alright, so we got a winner.
Alrighty.
We're live. Let's do it live.
Alright.
Toothpicks. Alright, so this may seem premature, but pet peeve of mine, or just something I just want to take care of, is to lube up the tuning mechanism. The bearings are exposed and I can tell that they're totally dried out, and this tuning seems stiff to me, and I don't want to chance anything binding and snapping the dial cord because I don't have any replacement stuff on hand, so I want to get a little lubrication in there. I'm not going to dismantle this. I'm not going to take the bearings out. I'm just going to kind of flush it out with some contact cleaner and then put some new lube in there. I don't even see any dried up grease. I don't think there's really much of anything in there. That's dirt. I think it's going to make a world of difference. Also not a bad idea to get some contact cleaner. Somewhere in here there should be some, yeah, okay. So the way this works is the frame is grounded and then the moving plates need to go into the circuit, and there are some brass fingers here that rub on the central brass shaft, and you want to make sure those are clean and making good contact. So get those cleaned up. And then I want to lube the knob down here in that shaft because that's got like absolutely no lubrication on it. It's just a shaft going straight through with a little snap thingy on the other side. I'm totally off camera right now. I've used various greases in the past. Lately I've been using this Lubriplate 105 they've been making for a very, very long time. I found a service manual from Dumont from the 40s and they recommended using this. And I gotta imagine they haven't really changed the formulation since then. And if it's good enough for Dumont, I figure it's good enough for anybody. It's kind of a mix of grease and oil. Oh, it's already so much nicer. Take my word for it. I didn't even do the capacitor yet. Which is really easy to do, but I got a feeling some people don't bother. Especially not some of the hack restored radios you see on eBay that they charge a lot for and say it's fully restored, and they just replaced a couple of electrolytics underneath the chassis. There we go. Get those plates fully open so you can really get in there. Yeah, I'm being a little bit sloppy. I'll go back and clean up the excess. Sometimes there's a single ball on the far end, and there'd be something you could back off to get it out and lube. This doesn't appear to have anything like that, so I'm just going to try to let something kind of ooze down in on the back side. Alright, nice. Just clean up the excess. That's it. Why don't you give that a try now?
Ooh, smooth as silk, man.
Does it really feel better? You know,
yeah.
You know, not to say that just to make me feel
better.
No.
No, it was jerky earlier. Yeah, it was good.
Sweet. So now let's dig up some new caps. Or no, I guess you already did. I think you said we need one more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 3-section cap.
So, for a nice change, somebody brought in the new parts to go with the radio. Hey, is that a line filter cap? Oh, you really came prepared.
I think you gave me some of that a long time ago.
Could be.
I don't think I used it.
So, this has 3 electrolytics. 2 of them are the originals are
220s and 160?
Yeah, so you got 22s, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They don't specify the voltage on here, it might be on the cap, but being that it's only a single phase. Wow, this is the main one is rated for 140 volts, and the 2 are 132 and 122.
Well, all I had was 450s.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. No, I'm just surprised on the original cap that they cut the margins so thin, and that they went so far as to. I'm usually just used to saying it's like 160 for all 3 sections, but to break it down as 140, 132, and 122. It's a little, well, surprising to me, anyways. You can always go higher with voltage rating. Using 450s in place of a 132 or 150 or 200 is absolutely fine. That's just a matter of them being a little bit physically larger, which sometimes can be okay, because so the original cap is held in place with a big metal collar. So potentially, if you take 3 caps and put them together, they might be large enough that they would actually fit inside that loop and kind of hold them in place, or maybe wrap a couple turns of electrical tape around them. I've seen guys do that. Otherwise, we can just break this off, and where that rivet was that held this on, put a terminal strip, mount the new caps there, and the right wires are probably long enough that they would reach the terminal strip, and hey, we're done. So you got 222s. I can dig up a 68 to replace the 60, and that's it. And it looks like you brought in a 270 ohm resistor. It's cool. Replace that guy. So if this is typical of power supplies, they'll have multiple caps and then bleeder resistors between, because different parts of the radio need different voltages. It also helps filter, because it makes a low-pass filter when you have a resistor and then a capacitor going to ground. So it's kind of like a two-stage or three-stage low-pass filter. Alright, let's get to work. So let's get this guy out. Oh, colors seem pretty legible. It should be red, blue, and yellow, and then the black is common. I can see those colors pretty well, so you want to do the honors.
Cut it out?
Cut it out as close as you can to the capacitor body so we can reuse the wires. They seem really flexible, like they might be natural rubber. Now, if you wanted to reuse that metal loop, you'd have to get that cap out. They secure it by hitting it with a nail set or something and putting a dimple in it. It can be pretty hard to get that out. I mean, that's just not going to slide out. You'd have to kind of like crush this or mush this up or something to get it out. But I don't think the caps would fit in there. I think we'd be better off using a terminal strip.
Yeah, that would be good.
So an easy way to do that is to just let some metal fatigue help, or just cut it. I think this is gonna break off pretty soon. There we go, and that's it. Just a closer look at it. Yeah, theoretically it's possible to restuff this, but this is looking pretty crappy, so I don't think we're going to be doing that. In fact, I'm just going to say we're not going to be doing that. So we got a little stump here that's kind of pop riveted to the chassis. We can try drilling that out and use that hole, or we could drill a new hole. So we're going to need 3 capacitors and a common ground, which I guess is the... Does this thing have a hot chassis or a floating chassis? Where's the power switch? That, and the other side goes there, and around, and over there. Okay, this does not have a hot chassis. So what do I mean by that? Hot chassis, one side of the AC line will be going directly to the metal chassis. This isn't. The easy way to tell that is when you see these symbols. They have 2 different sort of ground-looking symbols. The one with the slanty lines, that is the metal chassis. The one with the decreasing horizontal lines, that is a floating ground, or B-. So in other words, this chassis is not what you attach the negative side of these caps to. So if we use a terminal strip and we screw it to the chassis, the terminal, typically there's a terminal that goes with that screw. You cannot connect the negative lead of the caps to that. So here's what I'm talking about. So if we were to use this, we cannot attach anything to that. That is verboten. So what I sometimes will do would just bend this over. Is it completely eliminated as being, or cut it off. So yeah, we could use this, secure that, and we can use this for our common, and then we got 3 caps. The 3 positives can go here or something like that. Now there is one here. It'd be kind of cool if we could use that. And that's holding the speaker in place on the other side. So if we took that out, maybe, which is a self-tapping sheet metal screw.
Yeah, it is.
Use a machine screw with a lock washer and nut through from the other side, and we can lock this down and have to get out the drill and start making holes.
No holes to be made.
Alright, let's see what we can do. Otherwise, his head moved. We did end up going with a terminal strip, and we mounted 3 new caps. We were able to use most of the original wiring. We did replace the one wire going from the common of those electrolytics over to the power switch. All the original paper caps are in. We thought maybe this was a replacement cap, but on closer inspection it appears to be original, as do these 2 green resistors. I think it's because there may have been parts shortages when this was made in the 50s. I've seen this in plenty of TVs where they had to use European parts or Japanese parts because they couldn't get what they needed, or substitution. Also notice that on the schematic, this should be a 270 ohm and that should be a 2.2K, but instead we've got a 220 ohm and a 2K. Again, maybe that was part shortages, maybe it was a production run change. I'm not sure. But what we want to do now is try to run it. Now, I put the tubes back in.
You need the antenna.
Oh yeah, and the antenna. I knew that.
Okay.
But we can still try turning it on without it.
Oh yeah.
And tack it back in. And I actually do have a loop antenna up here, but...
You can probably use clips.
Yeah. Or yeah, we can clip it in. Sure. Also, I don't suppose we got a tube chart handy.
Yeah. It's in this pile right here.
Well, I think I do a pretty good job guessing. This would be the SK7. Let's see how good I do. And this should be the SQ7. And rectifier. And output. And SA7. Alright.
No, it doesn't show it. Here you go.
It's bottom view, so it would be flip. No, that can't be right. It doesn't make sense. Unless they mean bottom view like that. Okay, yeah, I am a bit wrong. So this is 35Z5 over here. Makes sense because it's right by the power cord. And then the power tube makes sense because it's right by the speakers. I had the right idea, but I had everything backwards. SA7 here next to the tuning circuit. SK7, I had that one right. That's the IF. And then the SQ7 is over here. Alright, cool. Oh, where's the back?
What is this one right here?
That is the SA7. That's
SQ7 right there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do we have 2 SQ7s? Oh, never mind. Thank you for catching my mistake. Shows you what I know.
So you can clip the antenna in, which
okay,
is...
You're being very optimistic.
Why?
You think we're going to hear something.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we won't.
Well, maybe we will. I mean, it's debatable about whether you need to shotgun the caps, or whether they're still good, whether some will be good, some will be bad. For sure the electrolytics are pretty much always bad. And the seller said that it had, like, what, a loud hum? Buzz?
It says turns on and cannot tune in station, so I'm guessing it was maybe like a loud buzz.
Okay.
You got your
So we got this plugged into an isolation transformer / variac that has a current limiting capability, so we are protected. Again, this chassis is actually floating. It is not going to the AC line. However, there are a couple caps in here that you should definitely remove at some point if you're going to use a radio like this. One is going right across the AC line. That's a paper. It's made out of paper and wax. So over time these deteriorate. They go pow. And the one going to the chassis, not as big a deal. It's more for to provide RF continuity.
Which is the one they refer to as the death cap.
That would be this guy. Plug it in, turn it on.
Yeah. Which could happen right now, right?
Sure.
Alright, let's check it out.
Oh yeah, we didn't take it out, did we?
No, we can turn it on, see what happens.
I did. Oh, I didn't turn on the other thingy though.
Oh, it didn't pop.
There was a current surge when I turned it on. Should also mention that cap across the AC line, you can sometimes take it out entirely and it'll work okay. Nothing is happening. There's a little bit of current draw though. Oh yeah, it's going. 35Z5, this is really... Actually, 35Z5 I don't think is glowing at all.
How can it not glow in the other ones? The 5006 is glowing.
Oh, it is. It's just really hard to see because it's got like a carbon deposit on top of the tube. Beautiful. You want to do the honors?
Oh, yeah. So we're what, at the lowest end of the band?
Yeah, they're all the way meshed, so it's the highest. Close frequency.
Yes, it is. You know what? Sometimes they deserve it, don't they?
560?
Probably.
Oh, yeah. I said, you were kids. You were kids. I cannot wait until you grow up. What was the reception?
My training helps me in my classes when I get...
Oh, we got radio stations.
I agree with that, actually. We as humans have this long...
Brady to me.
By the way, if you have a thought, 888-SAY-ESPN, make sure to try to pay for your coffee or pay your...
So it works, but it doesn't sound so hot. What a garbled mist going on.
I think we're closer to the end of the band now.
Here, before you ever get around to use it,
Right.
you all need to take a deep breath and think about the consequences, because we went through this for how many years with ammunition? They couldn't make it, ship it fast enough.
Onward and upward.
So we can change the
Yeah.
paper caps
keep
and then
going.
do an alignment.
Absolutely. You still recording?
Yeah, that's that.
All right, done. So, just occurred to me, something that I commonly get asked is, okay, we just had this thing turned on, just turned it off, and I'm about to stick my fingers right in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that safe to do? How long should you wait? Is there a way to discharge the cap? Generally, once the thing is working, when you turn the power off, the cap's really discharged quickly because it's going through the circuit and it kind of self-discharges. But if we really wanted to make sure, we could find the main filter cap, which I think this guy, and short it out. And you could do it with a series resistor if you want to limit the current a little bit. I'll go across to all of them. See, this is nothing. There's no.
We heard a pop, but was that the little...
The counter negative. It's me tapping the metal.
Okay.
No, there's no charge. These are all. So just like that, I mean, literally within seconds or a second, generally the caps are all discharged. You can go ahead and stick your fingers in there, and you're not going to get shocked. I've honestly, when somebody asked me, I was like, oh, you know, I never even thought about it because it just never happened to me. Something that could happen though is when you're running this, these tubes are getting hot, and they just turned it over on top of this bubble wrap, so it could melt down into it. Generally, a towel works out better than plastic, but we had some handy from unwrapping the radios. That's what we're using. Okay, let's get to it. So I mentioned about that cap across the AC line. It's what you call it, the death cap, and it should get replaced. What do you replace it with?
Not the same thing, or what?
No, not a paper cap, not one of these plastic film caps. One of these guys. I think. Let's make sure it's the right type. Yeah, so a capacitor is made to go directly across the AC line. It'll be a type X cap. There's also type Y, which can go from one side of the AC line to ground. This actually can do both. When you buy these, make sure you get the right kind.
Which is what, XY?
Yeah, X if it's going to go across the line, Y if it's going from one side to ground, or XY if you want to cover both bases. the, I think it's the Y. One type tends to be a lot cheaper. I think it's the Y caps, but I could be wrong about that. But anyways, these ceramic ones, the .0 ones, these are pretty inexpensive, so I typically use those quite a bit. We just went ahead and finished replacing all of the paper caps. And that yellow disc you see there, that is the one across the AC line.
Death cap.
The death cap. So, I think we're ready for another power up to see if that made any difference. This radio does not have a pilot light, you may have noticed. So
yeah,
you turn it on, it's a little hard to tell what's on until you start hearing something.
You start hearing stuff. I can see the glow of that output tube. I hear some things.
Scarfing it up. Trying to find it.
Wow, they got it worse, Bob.
What did you do wrong?
Something. I did something wrong then. Obviously. We got one station now.
Maybe hit it.
Happens. Trying to scarf it up and the shelves are getting empty.
Maybe what you said?
Oh, I said give it a whack. That's weird though, because some stations come in.
Just one.
You sure the antenna's hooked up securely? I don't think it. Do you think it might matter which way it's hooked up? I'm try reversing the lead, switching the leads. Reverse the polarity. You know, Dr. Who would always say that.
Mayors who are kind of
sounds different, doesn't it?
About that in just a second. $100,000 pay increase.
Yeah.
Are you getting more now?
Yeah.
This doesn't sound so hot though.
And we are committed to bringing you instant updates on the coronavirus for as little as $20 per eye. Dr. Greenberg.
Better.
First of all, I want to talk about this Helium for a bit.
Is that on over there?
No.
Alright. That's weird.
So we're finding the right plaintiffs to do it with, and we found a couple really key plaintiffs.
Are we rehearsing the leads? The patient didn't come in?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I can think of one thing. So the way the AVC works in this.
Yeah, look, it's completely dead.
Huh.
You flip these around.
The AVC voltage actually goes through the loop antenna. So that's one possible way I could see it could make a difference.
Yeah.
You can keep it.
So the detector, they just tie the two diodes together. It goes down through the volume control. They pick some off of this high value resistor, goes to this largish cap, and then it feeds the signal in through here to do the bias on this. But also some of it comes and goes down through the loop antenna to provide bias to the 12SA7. So, depending on which way that's hooked up, maybe it would affect the bias.
Yeah, correct, isn't it?
Well, no, but it made a difference reversing the leads.
So I'm thinking next we check the resistors, which we haven't really done, to make sure they're all within tolerance, and then try and align them. Seems like we should be pulling in more than we're pulling in. I know we're in the basement, but you just had a transistor radio out that was doing quite well. So, all right, let's keep going. Alright, now it's time for everybody's favorite topic, alignment. We have got a vintage Philco 077 signal generator fired up, set to 455 kilohertz with a 400 hertz AM modulation. We're feeding that in, as the alignment instructions say, through a 0.01 microfarad dummy cap to pin 5 of the 12SA7 dummy antenna. That just means a capacitor in series with the output of the generator going to the point indicated. 455, we got the radio dial set to approximately 1000 hertz, or sorry, 1000 kilocycles, kilohertz. And now we adjust the IF trimmers in that order. ABCD, you start out with the trimmer closest to the output and work your way back to the front end. So that's what we're going to do. They don't mention disconnecting the antenna or shorting it out or anything, do they?
No.
It seemed to be dead on where it was. We did check all the resistors, none of them were out of spec. Well, I'm kind of wondering what is going on. I mean, it works, it pulls in stations, but that whistling shouldn't really be there, and it's not working as well as it should, I think. Now, we could certainly test the tubes better with a more accurate tube test, so maybe that's the simplest next step. So yeah, the alignment was fine the way it was, it seems. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, the other part is 1500 kilohertz, and the antenna trimmer and the oscillator.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't think that's really gonna affect our issue too much. I already played around with those a little bit. So there are two trimmers on here. The one up front is for the local oscillator that sets it so that the dial pointer tracks correctly as you tune stations. The other one is the bandpass filter for the antenna input. I don't think that's going to affect much. I mean, even as it is, this test tone kind of sounds like crap. And I've got a pretty high level signal going into this radio. I'm on the highest output level. I'm bypassing the output attenuator, and I have the volume up on the RF generator all the way. Normally this should be like probably 1/100th the signal level I'm pumping into it. So, yeah, so you guys would be thinking silver mica disease in the IF cans. This radio isn't really quite old enough, I think, to have that problem. And we're not hearing that crashing, crackling sound you typically hear when that's an issue.
No, this has the variable capacitors and the IF.
Right, which those are the ones that can have the silver mica disease. But those typically, it's when the cap's at the bottom of the can. Oh no, sorry, you're right. Yeah, it's when the caps are fixed at the bottom and you're varying the inductors. You're varying the slugs, right? Yeah, these variable trimmer caps, I don't think ever suffer from that problem. Now we did put the right SQ7 in, right?
The Airline was the one that was bad. What's in there? You should have the RCA in there.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do. Well, the tube's tested fine, so we're down to two possibilities. We noticed that this IF can looks like it's been replaced. The one over here is secured by tabs that were bent over and soldered to the chassis. And this one, you can see there's like cruddy remains of solder, and then there were lugs put through and tightened down. And we actually have a spare chassis from is it the same model or a very similar model?
Similar model.
Similar model. And both IF cans have tabs that are bent over and soldered. So we think that's a replacement. The other possibility is there's two mica caps left in this thing. Or not left. There are two mica caps in this radio. They're the only things we haven't tested. So I just did the quick and dirty thing and just clipped out one end of each mica cap so we could test it. And I got my trusty solar cap tester out. So these are both 100 micro sorry. These should both be 100 picofarads or microfarads, and there should be no leakage. So we have no leakage. Let's check the value. And we got a really strong eye open, right around 100 picofarads. So that's cool. Let's check the other one. Which is down here. There we go. And same deal. No leakage. Let's check the value. That's weird. It's got a really weak deflection. Man, I hate that this camera can't pick up the eye tube for some reason. Just looking at it from green, but trust me, there's a faint line appearing up here, which is way over from where it should be. And if I go over to 100 picofarads where it should be, we got nothing. So that, there's no leakage. It looks like it's just bad. So what is that cap used for? Where the heck did I clip it out of? I think it was going over here, which is pin 3 of the SK7. Is that right? No. Oh, right.
One went to that resistor before the other side of the oscillator.
Oh, so the one going to pin 3, it's been grounded. Okay. So it's either the filter cap on the detector or, well, they're both. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. So detector diode, cap going to ground, resistor cap going to ground. It's a pi filter. So yeah, if one of these is really messed up, it's not going to be this. So this is what turns the RF or IF into audio. And if one of these caps is bad, it will definitely have a profound effect on the sound. So I will dig up a replacement 100 picofarad and pop it in there. I showed you a quick video recently where I demonstrated one of these inexpensive multifunction testers that are all over eBay. Well, I was curious to see what this would make of this 100 picofarad cap that the vintage tester said was bad. So got it hooked up, and here we go. And look at that. It says it's a good capacitor of close to 100 picofarads. That's why you really need to test one of these under a higher voltage. This is probably only putting, I don't know, a volt or two across it when it's testing, whereas the vintage tester puts considerably more. Okay, will this do it? Let's find out. Radio's off, Variac on. Gonna do the honors?
Yep.
You don't sound excited.
Is it plugged in?
Yeah, the two. I know that's the problem with this radio. When you turn it on, nothing. No indication anything's going to happen.
There it goes.
You don't hear a pop or crackle out of the speaker, and there's no pilot light. It's quiet. Before it was making all kinds of noise when we were off station. Oh, right, there we go. Ooh, that's a hell of a lot louder, isn't it? Yeah, no whistling. That's way better. I think we found the problem. Remember, don't linger on songs or we'll get a copyright violation.
Oh, yeah. That noise level is way down.
Yeah. It's the problem with those mica caps. And by the way, if any of you were wondering or already guessing, yes, that was a mica mold capacitor that was bad.
Sorry.
But yeah, when mica caps can go bad, the they can make noise. Because they can, like the silver ions, like migrate across the surface and kind of short out internally, and they kind of like short and reopen and short again and make this crackling, crashing sound.
Oh, there's nothing. Hold on.
Oh, you reversed the antenna leads again?
No, I did not.
Well, you broke it?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it's not attached too good back here.
Could have left it on while you did that.
Yeah, it could have been. That's where I was getting all that noise.
Oh. You're not going to get a station there because you're all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Still
get that whistling.
What'd you do? It was working a minute ago.
I know, huh? Well, there's... I swear, like nothing now. Doesn't make sense. Wow, it was like really good, and then
nothing major on 8094-65 or the.
Well, we found the latest problem. That was cheesy, cheap alligator clip leads. So the capacitor did indeed fix the problem. Is everything working great now?
I think so. Yeah.
And try sexual health.
There's very little around here at the low end. Until you get to like AM 720 or 670, you're not going to get a good station.
You know, Anthony Fauci's.
In a closed primary, it doesn't take that much for some.
January 20th.
And we're down in the basement. We got tons of electronics on right now, with the lights and the camera and the TV and our phones and everything else. So we should factor that in soon.
Well, seems to be working now.
Cool. Alright, so maybe we move on to cosmetic stuff. Although I should point something out about safety, long-term use. So, the original power cord is not polarized. And so there's no guarantee if you're switching the hot side or the neutral side. And there's no fuse in this. However, it is the original cord and it's in good shape. So, I mean, if I was going to sell this to somebody who didn't know anything about tube radios and they just wanted to have a nostalgic thing and use it and show it off, yes, I would cut off the original power cord, put in a polarized power cord, and put the switch on the hot side and install a fuse. But I don't know, we're going to be doing that right now, or... No, okay, but... Just want to say, if you're following this as a guide, as a model of how to restore an All-American 5 radio, just keep in mind you should do that. So let's take a look at the schematic again. So you should put in a polarized plug, but the fat side goes down here, and the narrow blade of the AC plug goes to the switch. And put in a fuse on the hot side, half an amp slow blow, 1 amp, somewhere in that ballpark would be fine. And remember to put a Type X safety cap in here. And I think you should probably put a Type Y in there. It goes from one side of the AC to the chassis. Kind of to provide an RF path to return. Notice that the gang tuning, I should have mentioned that, the gang tuning cap also goes to the chassis. So if you're wondering, like, how could that work when you've got B minus totally isolated from the chassis, and then you've got some of this stuff going to this, and there's no DC path. Yes, but there is an AC path through that capacitor, so that is definitely critical. If we were to clip that out, I'm pretty sure this radio would either not work at all or work a lot less efficiently. Alright, now we are going to move on to cosmetic issues. So here is the cabinet. It is Bakelite. Unfortunately, fortunately, there are no cracks, which is awesome for something this large. And it got shipped off of eBay, and, you know, dubious packing. The wasps didn't do any damage to it. But it did get scuffed at some point, and deep enough right in here to, let's gonna leave a mark, a permanent mark. Can't get that out. Here, we'll see what we can do. It's got light scratches all over the top. The rest of it looks to be okay. So Bakelite, it's made from formaldehyde and sawdust and resins and all kinds of crazy stuff. But the way it's heat set, and it's done under a lot of pressure in a mold. The outer surface makes this really nice, hard, shiny, chemically impervious material, but the inner stuff's a little bit more pulpy. And once you break through to it, you're kind of out of luck. If you were to sand this down, it's just going to get dull looking, and the color's going to change. You can fill it in. Like wood filler, they have those like colored wax sticks like crayons. You could rub that in there. Maybe a little bit of epoxy or something. Shoe polish can help out too. It will darken these scratches. But we're gonna start out with some basic stuff and do some Novus. Novus number 2. Novus number 3 is supposedly coarser, but I find it to be kind of useless. So we'll do Novus number 2, and we got some Simichrome, which is metal polish, really, really fine material. This is a little bit finer than this. Between the two of them, we'll be able to make this look real nice. It looks pretty nice as it is. You can see how reflective it is, but we're going to get it looking a little bit better. I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but good Bakelite has a really cool property. If you can almost kind of like, it almost looks three-dimensional. Like you can really like look into it deep and kind of lose yourself in it. Almost looks like waves or something. It's kind of trippy. So let's see what we can do. How's the polishing coming?
Yeah, it's all right, man. Kind of slow.
It's looking a lot better.
All right. Just got a bunch of.
Look at that shine. Yeah, there's still some of the deeper scratches, but that's unavoidable. You can maybe put some wax on it.
Yeah, put some wax on it. Just clean it up a little bit more.
Even that like Johnson & Johnson paste wax, I got some.
Oh, you got some?
Yeah. Actually, I got some stuff one of my fans sent me years ago. It's supposed to be like the bomb. I can dig some of that out and we can give it a try.
Yeah, I think we're kind of ready for that. You can just put it all back together.
Now remember, what you should do is like stop pretty soon and just let it dry to a haze. And do like wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off. All right, man.
And like wait a few minutes, and then like just do it in really like short, like little 1-inch increments, and it really works well. It sounds kind of silly, but
I've never done that. Doesn't matter which direction?
No, but let's wait another minute or so. All right, I think that's enough. Kind of find a clean section of the cloth, and if you can, you want a new cloth.
Yeah.
A clean-ish.
All right, this side is a clean-ish.
Oh, there you go. And then do like a little short, like chop into it. Yeah, and then occasionally rotate the cloth to get like a clean area of it, so it doesn't build up too much.
Now, what is this to do in the directions?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever read that.
Yeah, I think it's right on here. Okay, no, it's not on this, but I know I've seen it.
That's a lot better.
Oh, it's a hell of a lot better. So the only area that looks still bad is where that deep gouge was.
Put some wax on it then.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't find any of the wax filler sticks. But,
yeah, you don't.
But these more shallow scratches we might be able to do something about. So we ended up going with some Johnson paste wax, and I think it's looking pretty darn nice. No, the scratches aren't all gone, but
still there.
Again, we would need to get some kind of filler like they use for furniture, and I thought I had some, I just couldn't find it. But that is what I would suggest you get. It's basically like a brown crayon, and you can rub it in there and then buff it out. But otherwise, that's looking really sweet. See the reflection there? That is really nice. Here's a tip for you: if the wax sits a little too long or it's a little too cold and you get streaks in it, use a heat gun, just like polishing boots. You may see people use like a lighter to soften up the wax and then buff it out, or even use a damp cloth. Water helps to buff out the wax as well. It's looking real nice.
Weather Channel forecast. Approaching cold.
Radio's all back together now and looking pretty nice. Looking real nice. Look at that shine, man. It's like a friggin' mirror. I'm going to tune it around the dial. That is WLS, AM 890. There's the French station. You know what?
I can't remember. It's in Toronto. That's 820.
820. They decreased their carrier at night, I think. It's kind of hard to pick up.
At Social Security.
I don't know what that is.
And 32 degrees.
Wow, that's booming, man.
News update from Los Angeles to New York to Boston.
720.
WGN, yeah.
At work.
Well, it sounded really good. It sounds a lot better back in the cab than I think. It has a little bit of bass to it.
Patriots to get through that division every year. Will that change in the next year or two? Eventually.
If you go all the way to the higher end, you'll get some of that music. There should be some gospel stuff and maybe some Polish or Ukrainian music.
That one?
There's a few up in there.
Whatever that is.
Of your new life. Find more details at lastchancehouse.org. Last Chance House, where you can begin your journey.
That's it. I don't know what that was.
Get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for Call All American Dish, your dish authorized retailer now. 800-706-7063. 800-706-7063. That's 800-706-7063. Offers required credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
It's about your life and your money. It's the Dave Ramsey Show. You're trying to say that millennials are using bad methods of finance.
I don't know.
Games. And truthfully, the psychological stuff that goes on in war today is a big how kids.
I hope you guys enjoyed this restoration project on this Airline Radio.